So here we are, a best of 3. It is the finals. And well, it's going to be exciting because it's ZvZ, and I'm going to fanboy over both of these two players because I've met them both multiple times, and they're incredibly awesome. So yeah, it's just hard to know which way to go. But I guess if you love them both, you can be impartial by being completely biased to both of them. Anyway, spawning down in the lower left-hand position as the green Zerg player, representing Team Dignitas, Tefel. And his opponent up to the top left, the pink Zerg, representing Vega Squadron, it is JonnyREcco. So, this is going to be fairly cool, because I like them both. They both have some fairly cool play styles, and I'd actually say they have quite differing play styles. Not sure if I'd agree with myself in terms of their ZvZ, because ZvZ doesn't have that many variations in style of play. It does, but they're more subtle. But in the other matchups, in ZvT and ZvP, they're actually very different. JonnyREcco has been, and probably always will be, a macro-orientated player. He wants to just sit back, drone, and then smash you with a death ball. Generally. Tefel, on the other hand, he loves the mid-game. He will get into Roach Hydra Force and just eat you at like 13 minutes. And that's his thing. So, in ZvZ, it could be quite interesting to see how they interact, but ZvZ is much more refined and not refined, it's just much more geared towards constant aggression, back and forthing, engagements, poking, prodding, teching, and it has very distinct phases. There's like the Zergling phase, the Zergling Baneling phase, Roach plus something phase, Roach Hydra Infester, generally now. There is still the option of Mutalisks, but over the last couple of months, or mainly, actually probably only a couple of weeks to be fair, Mutalisks have completely phased out at high level games. They're nigh on never seen in ZvZ now. They are still sometimes seen, but just so many Zergs have got completely confident defending against early Mutalisks with a couple of spores at each base, and then just massing Roaches and Roach Hydra and just going and stomping you, that they're just not really a thing that much. They're still really great if you catch your opponent off guard with them though, and if they're not prepared and then suddenly there's like 50 Mutalisks attacking their natural, they're just like, oh dear, I was not expecting this. Anyway, as we've got things going, nothing too crazy occurring for the most part. Both players just adding in their additional queens. Both players are actually only Rico at the moment, 2 lings out. Tefel not doing that yet. Quite interesting as well, these two used to be teammates. It was actually about, was it a year ago now, roughly? I'm trying to think. Yeah, it must have been actually around a year ago. JonnyREcco was on Dignitas, so same time Tefel was, duking it out with each other. Anyway, in we go. Couple of links, just trying to get some scouting down. They're not going to be able to tell too much other than the shimmering of the spawning pool, giving away that Zergling speed is being researched. That's probably the big scouting information that Rico just got. I don't know if Rico actually saw how many drones were in gas. That's the other big thing he's keeping a close eye on. He wants to know what's happening. Is it 3 drones, 1 drone, 2 drones? Because that really determines whether or not there's going to be much Baneling aggression. For the most part though, additional gases now coming through, or first 2 gases from Rico. He did go gasless. He's up at 4 queens. No double Evo wall, no Rotron Evo wall, anything like that for now. But if Tefel continues on producing more lings, he's going to need that, although we're not actually seeing any more lings yet from Tefel. Adding in a second, probably going to see a 3rd gas fairly soon. No Baneling nest either though, so this is just speedlings. No Banelings, not an all-in or anything like that. With the 2 queens, the spine, the Rotron Evo chamber wall off, really Rico should be fairly safe from this. Same thing coming down from Tefel. So really these two are just on the same page as each other. They know what they're looking for, they know what they should be doing, and they're going to quite comfortably get into that Roach stage of the game without many hiccups. Rico slightly up in the work account, but to be honest, by 3 workers, it is not an amount that actually makes a notable difference. What is quite interesting is both adding in a sizable number of additional lings. So despite them on the front of it saying, hey, getting +1, getting roaches down, they're both getting a lot of zerglings out. Tefel is still going to be up in the overall zergling count. Overall. But, oh, actually no, Rico's going to get ahead. The purpose of these lings is quite simple. Third bases, you don't want your opponent having one. It's, if you can kill your opponent's third base and you get a third base up, you're so incredibly far ahead, it's untrue. Like, 9 times out of 10, if you kill your opponent's third and your third gets up safely and you hold it for the rest of the game, or at least a couple of minutes, the position you're in is phenomenal. Like, you almost always go on to win then, unless you make a really big slip-up, or your opponent catches you off guard with something. In come the links though, a couple of roaches defending, and yeah, this is actually going to be a situation where neither is likely to be able to deny their opponent's third base. So it's Tefel with the small advantage for now. Both players just running around with these speedlings, attempting to maintain map control, but due to Frost having a lot of different paths through, quite difficult to do. Although Rico does have great vision with his overlords, just to see any way that they could be going, whereas actually Tefel lacking vision around that left-hand path. Couple of ling on ling fights here. Overall trades, very low still. 156 to 75 resources lost. At like 9 minutes 30-ish, that is incredibly low in terms of resources gone. So neither player really losing anything yet. Worker count swinging in Tefel's favour again, and that's due to his third being up. Tefel just wants to saturate that. Rico probably going to be looking to grab a fairly big drone wave again. He's only up to 53. He's probably going to want to fully saturate this. Both players also adding in a sizable chunk of army supply. Tefel's ahead there though as well for the moment. In terms of a lead, it's Tefel there. Tefel's pretty much up on upgrades, economy, and also tech. And with all of that, hey, he's definitely looking solid. Rico though, he hasn't taken many losses either, so assuming he levels out the work count long term, and he's going to now, 4 additional drones will actually put him in the lead again. This is now a very, very balanced game. And it's what I was expecting from the way in, to be honest, that this would be an incredibly equal game. In terms of what's next, they may try to go for some roach aggression, or one of them may, but I suspect that unless someone gets caught out of position quite badly, we're not going to see a roach on roach fight, because their overall roach armies... Actually, having said that, Tefel's actually well up on his roach count, so I take all of that back. I was going to say their roach count should be pretty similar, but Rico down quite substantially though. He's invested in the infestation pit sooner. He needs to produce a lot and fast, because he's literally at half the roach count. His army supply is still relatively similar with the reinforcements coming through, and a lot of that's through these additional lings that are going to go for a counter-attack. They're going to delay reinforcements coming through, but the third bases of both players getting threatened now. Lings tearing through a lot of these roaches, may get a couple of drone kills, but it's the third base of Rico where the game could be decided. Big concave here for Tefel, a much better engagement position. Rico backs away from this, tries to switch in his favour. Tefel also backing away, neither wants to get caught by a bigger concave. Upgrades level, +1 on both sides, they're both going to get +2 at basically the same time. Defender's advantage though is here for JonnyREcco at the moment, but he's down in army supply significantly. The roaches duking out, spine crawler coming over. Rico still trying to battle through these roaches, but it's not going to be enough. GG is called, and Tefel takes game number 1 in this best of 3.